because ultimately what you're saying is the same thing that I would say, is that, for the Marxists, they're saying, well, the corrupt capitalists, the greedy capitalists, like they would make an argument. I mean, some of the arguments we would agree with, like, so, like they would look at a CEO and then look at, a laborer and say, like capital, the idea of capital liquidated, like there are profits, but the idea of liquid capital that belongs to the owner, rather than the laborers who actually are doing the work and producing, that blah, blah, blah. And they would look at that and they say, this CEO makes 200 times what the input, like, okay, this person may have started the company, or this person might have, I don't know, like, 20, 30, 40 points higher IQ. This person might work double the hours, like, but by all those metrics, all right, they work twice as much, but 200 times the salary. They have twice the intellect, 200 times the salary, and so and I think that's what, Marxism and they're all just different forms of egalitarianism. That's the big, and egalitarianism ultimately, in order to be consistent, it becomes androgyny, right? That's why the whole transgender craze and all, you have to steamroll from gender, from this, from that. Everything just has to be the same. In order for it to be equal, we all have to be the same. And we know that our God works within hierarchies, that biblical hierarchy is a thing, but hierarchy can be perverted to where it's 200 times a person at the top, because the biblical model of hierarchy is that the husband lays down his life for, and I think that's what you're saying. I think that, like, why we have to get back to the family, because you don't have the picture of Christ in the church with CEO and laborer. You just that dynamic, but you do with husband and wife and with children, and so at the end of the day, I think capitalism as an economic system fits within the biblical mold better, although you're right, there are flaws, and has certain, by default, built-in checks and balances through competition, but only to a point, right? Because, like, for all the capitalists out there, myself being one, how in the world do you compete with Facebook and Twitter? And, like, we try, right? So Parler, we got them, and then, but we don't own the servers. We're gone. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm all for, like, I like Marcus Pittman, and I like those guys and Lore, and I'm going to support those things, right? Because conservatives got to try. We can't just sit around and complain. We got to try. But honestly, I'll just be honest and confess, I'm not super hopeful that we're going to be able to compete with Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and these kinds of things, because there's a certain point where you just, I think Google, like, I read once that I think they buy a company like every day or every week. They buy any company that even looks like it might have the potential a decade from now to be a competitor, and they just buy them, and they buy them, and they buy them, and and so it's just like, it's like almost at some level, it's like, it's one thing when someone's better, they actually work harder, or they actually have a unique idea, but it's another thing when it's like king of the mountain, king of the hill, and you're not stronger and you're not working harder. You just got there first. And there's something about the strategic positioning of the high ground that in having the high ground, nobody else can ever compete. And so that's the problem that we're finding with capitalism, is there's certain industries and certain fields where it's like, this person, yes, they had a unique idea, and God bless them for that, and all the ways that it has lent towards flourishing with humanity. But this is not just hard work and intellect and creativity. There's something about just the nature of this industry where nobody can actually compete. And so the governing force, I don't trust the state to govern the market. And that said, I trust the market to govern the market. I'm a big fan of Thomas Sowell and basic economics, so I trust the market to govern the market much more than I trust the state to govern the market. Yeah. But that's why I'm a capitalist. But I agree with you that the market still can't perfectly govern the market. You're still going to have some of the problems, and they're not small. They're big problems that we have today. So at the end of the day, what we're talking about is has God provided to govern the hearts of men, and it's His law. And, and the basis, the fundamental human societal building block where the law of God is instructed and taught and birthed into the hearts of men is the family. Would you agree?
Amen.
Am I?
Yeah. And I think, believe me, I've been in this industry my entire career, and I know exactly what you're talking about, but I also see the hollowness of it. Some of these giant corporations, these things are not going to last. put your hand to the plow and don't look back. I mean, honestly, these things, we don't need to create Christian alternatives to these things. We need to just start living authentic Christian lives and authentic Christian community. Those are the things that will last, right? Matthew 5-7, where Jesus talks about building your house on the rock, it has nothing to do with political power or might. It's following the words of Christ, building our homes, our families, and our communities and our churches on that truth. That truth will never fail. We've seen this come and go through the ages in Christianity, where there are powerful. I mean, think about the Roman Catholic Church and the power that it had up until Martin Luther and the Reformation. I mean, we have seen dominant, powerful world forces before, and we don't need to create a conservative version of everything that's out there. I mean, there are always ways in which we can be strategic, but honestly, these things are all going to pass. They're all just a shadow. And the Lord, what he will preserve will be those God-fearing souls and those God-fearing communities who, like you said, they stand by his word. Every word of God proves true. That is what's going to last through all of this. So in my mind, things are going to crumble. And I actually think there's a cause for great hope in that, in the sense that God is going to restore righteousness in his own timing and in his own way. And he's calling people to be part of that right now, and to not try to be so immersed in the popular culture that we're always trying to be distracted by who's ahead, who's winning, who's losing, and all these things. I think a lot of the presidential and the whole political cycle is hugely distracting to the everyday kind of brick by brick kinds of things that we need to be doing as Christian families, and in building community in our churches and all, and building more self-sufficiency, so that when those things aren't there for us, when the systems, crumble inevitably, as they will, we actually have answers for the world. We have answers for people who are looking and saying, hey, why, what is it that you have? Why are you still able to survive and to thrive in the middle of like a crisis pandemic, and we can't even figure out what to do, from one day to the next, and the rules keep changing on us? Why are you happy right now? Why are you doing so well? Well, the world's going to need some answers. And so I think it's easy to get caught up in what these massive corporations are doing, and the fact that the wicked are prospering in many ways. But to me, it's not a problem. Just stay true to what the Lord is calling you to do. Keep your nose to the grindstone, and he'll take care of the rest.
Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would consider supporting Right Response Ministries, we'd be incredibly grateful. You can do so by going to rightresponseministries.com/donate to give your gift of any amount. If you're not able to support us financially, that's okay. You can still support us in a great regard simply by subscribing to our YouTube channel, clicking the bell, and of course sharing our content with all your friends and family. We can't do this without you, your support, and your prayers. So thank you.